Well, back in March, Jonathan Minnis' career came full circle as he's named the head of strength and conditioning at Western Illinois University, and the man has taken a very unusual route to get there. First of all, Jonathan, I know you've worked incredibly hard to do this. Again, I touched on how non-traditional it was. First of all, just the chance to take over a Division I institution like this has to feel incredibly gratifying in your job path.
Oh, absolutely. It's I hate to say it's my dream job by any means, but I'm an alumni here. I got my master's degree here. Being back in the area, working with the Division I football program and Division I athletics in general, it feels good, and there's no other way to put it. It just feels good because it's continuing on my journey and doing what I want to do in this field of strength and conditioning, and to be able to work with the coaching staff here with Coach Elliott, the football team here, coming back to these guys who, there's still probably 50% of them. They were here when I was here. It's just, I'm overwhelmed still, even with everything that's going on, not being able to be with the team currently. And it's still, every day I just sit back and realize how blessed I am. And I know it's so cliche, but it's absolutely true.
You are in a connections business. I mean, and more than anything, it's the relationships you're able to foster. Unfortunately for you, you're on the job a week, and all of a sudden the COVID-19 thing hits, and you're trying to prepare a football team for the season. How difficult has this been, and how have you kind of geared your approaches around all of the different restrictions, hoops we've got to jump around right
now? Absolutely nothing prepared me for this. I'm not going to lie. And every strength coach in the country and head coach and assistant coach, everything, nobody was prepared for this. To have to train a team, whether that's, from strength conditioning side or from a tactical side as being a coach, you're training a team online, completely online. And so, I went from, being so ecstatic to get back here. And that first week, it was just the greatest week of my life. And then all of a sudden, okay, we're on spring break, no big deal. Okay, we're going to extend spring break. Okay, not a big deal. We're not going to be back for a few more months. And so, then immediately, I have not implemented anything from my program with these guys. So it's finding ways to train these guys with what they already know, and I know that they know. So it has been one of the biggest challenges I've ever dealt with.
From the standpoint that, campus isn't open and there are people who don't have access, and you can't fake or finesse training for a college football season. I mean, there are other sports maybe you can gear up and ramp up a different way, but football is such exacting and exhausting sport on the body. You have to have full training session and regimen. What kind of challenge are you running into with guys who don't have access to a traditional weight room?
That, working, I'm a strength coach at West Hancock, and wrestling coach there, and then in my own facility, and we didn't have the greatest facilities at West Hancock, and we made do, but we still had barbells, we still had plates, we had dumbbells. I've got guys now that don't even have that. They've got a book bag that they put a bunch of, sand in or books or whatever to weight it down. So it's been a challenge, but it's been fun. One great thing that has happened with this in the strength and conditioning community is every strength coach has come together. I have met more strength coaches that I've looked up to, and, I steal their stuff, but I've been able to meet them on Zoom, in small groups and actually talk to them and pick their brain. The Missouri Valley strength coaches, we all meet once a week on Wednesday evenings on Zoom. And, had this not happened, that I may have only, met them for 5 minutes before and after a game, and try to build a relationship off that. So there has been positives, but going back to, what you're talking about, it's been a challenge trying to figure out, okay, I've got, at the beginning, I had like 10 guys who had full access to a weight room. Everybody else had pretty much nothing. and it's slowly gotten more guys have gotten weight rooms. But I still have 20 guys or so that they don't even have dumbbells, they don't have anything, and so I'm making a set program for guys in the weight room, and then taking what I know about body weight movements and things like that, and trying to match it up. Adding different protocols to it, whether that's slowing down the tempo on it or whatever I can do. But it's been a challenge. But in the long run, and we have to look on the positives with everything. And in the long run, it's just going to make me a better strength coach, I think. As well it will for every coach, whether that's strength coach or football coach, basketball coach. I think this is going to make them better.
I think in this world, when your passion becomes your job, it's really a special place and gives you a special happiness. And I know that teaching and instructing and that you sort of came to that organically, but the journey from point A to point Z now, where you're at, is totally unusual and not like a lot of other Division I strength conditioning coaches. At what point did you see the architecture of being able to look and go, hey, I can go from, out high school kids kind of in my spare time, getting them to where they want to be, to Division football coach? Because that's a pretty big leap.
Man, it has been a weird journey. And, when I came out of the military, I knew that, and I was, working with people while I was in the military even, and before that, training people in different realms. But it was, when I was coming out, it wasn't so much about working with athletes or elite level athletes. It was just working with people and helping them become better, reach their goals, losing weight, running a 5K, rehabbing from hip replacement, whatever it was. That was just kind of what I like to do and love to do, I should say. And then West Hancock brought me. I became a wrestling coach there, and then started working. And then hey, can you be the strength coach? Absolutely. I love doing that. And then I started to find that real passion about how much I just loved working with athletes and seeing, at the high school level, them go from freshmen who've had zero experience in the weight room to seniors looking to go on to college. And everything in the middle was what I loved, was getting them from from point A to point B to point C to that point where they were going off to college. The more I did it, Tri-State Strength and Performance, when I opened that place, and then I started working with, we had Coy Dorothy coming in and the Shelby Kaler and these other Brant Ames, these college level athletes coming in, and I just realized, okay, this is love doing this. Where now I've got somebody who's at point, L, and now I got to get them to the next level, and that's even more fun to me because now it takes even more programming, more science to figure that out. So yeah, even though it wasn't, the normal route where I went to college, then I became a grad assistant and I worked under a big name strength coach and then moved on. I went from training middle school kids to high school to a private facility where I worked with, Division III kids. And then now, and Don got to that point where I'm working with Division I. So it has been a very long process. But again, going back to it, that process has made me what I am now. If I wasn't a wrestling coach at West Hancock, if I hadn't worked with middle school kids at the YMCA, I wouldn't be the coach I am now.
Hey, you almost beat me to the punch because I was going to ask you, I think there's a lot of component pieces your West Hancock experience, and you've touched on it. You've been very vocal, spending time with Reno Pinton, and he said kind of the same thing of you. You guys were not directly linked at the time, and then that became a really influential thing on your development as someone who develops other people, didn't it?
Very much so. Reno will always have a special place in my heart. I get chills just, to thinking about, our relationship and what I learned from him. When I came in as the wrestling coach at West Hancock, and, when you look at basketball and wrestling, you usually talking about butting heads. But there was just, the first day I still remember meeting him the first time. And he immediately is like, oh, I think it's great. You know, I've heard great things about you. And I'm like, okay, this isn't what I expected from the head basketball coach. And then, you know, from there, our conversations going on. And just every time we spoke, it just, our relationship got stronger. And every time he spoke, whether he knew it or not, I was learning something from him. And I can't talk enough about, you know, how much of a mentor he was without him even knowing he was mentoring me. And, you know, I can go on, you know, and I'll never forget. So one of the first big name athletes, I guess if you want to say, that I worked with in the area was Paxton Harmon. It was right prior to him going into his junior year. I was still just training people at the YMCA. I was good friends with his brothers, and they set me up with them, started working with them all summer and fall. And right, you know, we stopped kind of right before the season started. Paxton had a breakout year. I mean, obviously. And they did I think it was you guys did a report on him. Maybe he was Student Athlete of the Week in Reno on the news show. He said he worked with our wrestling coach, Coach Minnis, in the off season. And, you know, he didn't have to do that. But he stepped out and he said, and this is a huge lesson I learned from him, is he stepped back, said, I'm not the reason for this. You know, I'm his head basketball coach, not the reason he's doing this well. It's this guy. It's Paxton himself. It's his parents. It's, you know, there's so many other links that you can't just be arrogant enough to think that you're the reason. And, you know, just that simple thing taught me so much right there. And that was my first year as head coach at West Hancock. Every single year, at least once or twice, I went to Reno and said, this is the issue I'm dealing with as a coach. What would you do? How do I handle this? And, you know, he didn't say, this is what you need to do. He said, well, this is how I would do it. This is another way you could do it. But he taught me so much. And again, if it's not for him, I'm not the coach I am now. And I know he is humble enough that when you talk to him, he pushed that off. It's like, well, maybe he was already a great coach, and maybe I gave him some tips here and there. No, he did so much for me, so much.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you, because you also built a program almost from nothingness at West Hancock with wrestling, and you were blessed, obviously, to have the Lucy's. And I don't know how you reconcile that Navy guy, let those guys get away to this point, but you'll get a pass that one here for you. But just to do that, and you're in your career, you are trying to build something. Look at what that wrestling program became under your leadership. How much pride does that give you, and how much confidence does that give you, Jonathan, to chase, like you said, a non-traditional route from that point forward into Division I athletics?
Absolutely. You know, coaching wrestling at West Hancock, it was just an amazing part of my life, and the relationships that I built with the wrestlers who came through, the parents of those wrestlers. You know, I still am in contact with several of them. But I was, you know, my first year I had Maverick McCarty, I had Freddie Lopez, I had Jack Lucy. The next year it came in Devin Beeston, Will Lucy, and Jacob Lohman and Josh Espinoza, and just every single. And then, you know, at some point Brett Hamill came in, and Chase Hartwig, and these guys just, I couldn't, you know, it was like you said, there wasn't was there. But we only had a few guys, and every year these guys who never wrestled before came out and gave me every single ounce of heart and work and everything that they had. They gave it to me during that season, and I didn't really. I mean, maybe I instilled some work ethic into them, maybe. But I just kind of gave them a program to work with. They did all the work, and they made me look good. And I can't take responsibility for, you know, any of that, what happened, you know, truly. There were so many, you know, Brad Froman as athletic director helping me. Judy Melton there, Steve Lucy, Mark Lohman, all these guys just chipping in. Chris Beeston's another one. I could go on and on and on. But I did very little with that program. I just was kind of there, and I was maybe the face and the name, but it was everything else that built that program around some great people.
I don't know that we got a chance, and I kind of teased you a little about it, but we didn't get a chance to talk about the military component. And I know for you, that had to be incredibly shaping.
Yeah. I look back on my military experience, and every veteran can, they don't admit this, but it's true, is when you're in the military, you absolutely hate it. You absolutely hate everything about it. You hate your daily routine. And I was the same. There was parts I loved, but after you get out, you look back and you think about all the bad times, and you're like, okay, this bad time led to, me with this group of guys joking around, making fun of how bad it was and things like that. And so, but there were so many things I learned, teamwork and work ethic, and learning to have a schedule, have a plan for everything. And again, without that military experience, I would not be the coach I am today, or the man I am today. It did a lot to help me, and I look back on it with very, very fond memories. Even like I said, the worst memories, I look back now and laugh and realize what it actually did for me.
You're obviously in a position, Coach Elliott trying to elevate this thing, and you work incredibly closely with him to do that. And obviously, you haven't had the ideal preseason to do what you want to do. But what's your vision for getting this program to the next level? Because I think that's one of those things, almost like military service, where everybody has to be on the same page and all the oars have to be moving in the same direction at the same time.
Yep. It's all about changing the attitude and changing the vision, changing the focus. One of my big sayings, I said it all the time when I was coaching wrestling, and I'm sure the wrestlers got annoyed with it. And my thing is, attitude is everything. It can be the worst situation. If you have a good attitude about it, it can flip it, just like that. So just instilling the attitude into the players that, last year's over, it's done. We're moving on. We're not even talking about it anymore. So just every time that you're training, whether that's on the field, in the weight room, whatever it is, you're focused on winning championship. And that's the mindset that we have to have. That's the focus we have to have. So that's the biggest change. It's not going to be the lifts that I put in. It's not going to be the running or the stretching. It's not going to be any of that. That stuff, there's a million ways to do that, and they can all be successful. It has to be that attitude. It has to be the vision of it all. Being lucky enough to be a part of the Weber State program this last year, we went to the semifinals, and the program that's been built there by Jay Hill is remarkable. I mean, it's amazing to have been a part of that and see what happens. But one of the things that I truly took away from that is I will never forget. We just beat Cal Poly. We're getting ready to play Nevada. We'd lost a close game to San Diego State, beat Cal Poly, and now we had Nevada coming up, another FBS program. Then we had a week off, and then we played Northern Iowa. So our schedule was not easy. But I remember Coach Hill telling the team, it's like, we are going into our off week 2-1. We are going in 2-1. We are going to have Northern Iowa, we played them at home. We're going to have them here. We're going to be 2-1. And we're going to have a win against an FBS team. There was no talk about, well, if we lose and we're 1-2, there was no talk of that. It was 100% focused on we're going to be 2-1. Now, we lost that game. It's a close game. Again, another bowl-eligible team that we lost to. It didn't change anything. It went right on to, okay, Northern Iowa's coming in here. We've got a week off, and Northern Iowa's coming in here. A top 10 team in FCS, perennial powerhouse coming in from Missouri Valley. We're going to beat them, and we're going to go in 2-2, and we're going to put our name back up there. And that's how it was. It would just flip to the next week. When we lost to Montana early in the season, it wasn't like, man, they just killed us. It wasn't any talk like that. It was like, oh, we're going to play. So I'll never forget this. Jay put out, he's like, we're going to play them in the playoffs. We're going to have them here. We're going to be the home team, and we're going to play them, and we will get our revenge. And we did. I'm not saying Jay Hill's a prophet, but he had that focus. He had that vision, and he instilled it into his team and into the coaches, into the whole program, the whole university. And they had that vision. So that's what has to change here with the players. And so I put that out every time I talk to them. Don't lose focus. We're going to win the conference. We're going to go to the playoffs. We're going to go to Frisco. We're going to be in that championship game. There's no other talk about it. It's not like, oh, we had a bad year. Let's get better. No. We're going to win the conference. We're going to go to the playoffs. We're going to go to Frisco. So that's the vision that has to be there.
The statistics and the odds suggest that inevitably at some point along the point of this journey, you're going to have an NFL level guy under your charge, and you're going to get that guy to the next level. As a strength and conditioning coach, when you run into that somebody who possesses a little something else, does that add a little spark to what you do, to when you go to work, to know that you have a chance to do something even more special and rare?
It excites you. Absolutely. I was there, when Colin Saunders was at Western, and you don't treat them any differently. They've still got to put in the work, and they know that. The thing that I've noticed, and we had, Jonah Williams out at Weber State, and, LaCale London was here as well when I was here. Those guys know they got to come in and put in the same work that everybody else does. Because at this point in time, especially, it's, hey, we're focused on winning the championship. The NFL is going to happen if you take care of this championship. So they have to be on that same page as well. We have guys being scouted right now pretty heavily. And the one thing that I have noticed with these guys that are the NFL caliber guys, especially at this FCS level, is that's not their concern. Their concern isn't the NFL. That's their goal, absolutely, and they shouldn't change that. But they don't think about it. They put that aside and realize, I got to take care of steps 1, 2, and 3, and then that will take care of the NFL part of it. But right now, that doesn't change, and it won't change. I'm still going to have the same goal. I want to make them a better football player. If that gets them to the point of being at the NFL level, that's great, and that is the goal. But we have to take care of this step right now. Right now I'm meeting with all of our newcomers, all of our incoming freshmen, and that's, I put that out to them. It's hey, we're going to take care of this right now. This is going to make you a better player your freshman year. Then we're going to focus on making you an even better player for your sophomore year, and so on and so forth. Through when you leave here, you will be at that caliber to go play in the NFL, to go play in the Canadian League or the arena leagues, whatever it is. It's going to prepare you for that next step. But we have to take care of this block. We can't just jump into preparing for the NFL, because that's down the road. We got to take care of step 1. We got to build the base, and then we'll build the rest of the pyramid as it goes.
Last one for you, Jonathan. I think it's probably the most important one you can probably lend the most ability to. There is no linear path, your goal, or your dreams in this world. You just kind of have to make it happen. And I know maybe applicable to someone out there who's interested in strength and conditioning, but just in general, somebody chasing it. What's the biggest piece of advice, life advice, you've learned in swing upstream, if you will, that you'd impart to somebody young who's, hey, how do I get to where I want to be when people are telling me it just simply isn't done?
Yeah. Man, it's a challenge no matter what your goals are. I can sit here and say that all the way through, I didn't listen to the haters, and I put all that behind me, and I just went. I never lost track of my goals. And in my opinion, anybody who tells you that's at a high level, then they forgot where they came from. It's as simple as that, because everybody, and I've done it too, over the past year, getting to this point, I gave up being, having a good business in Tri-State Strength Performance and doing what I loved. And I gave that up to become a strength coach, and I stepped way back, became a GA. Then I was a part-time assistant out at Bryant. And then I was still an assistant at Weber. And now I'm the head guy. If I told you, like, I never lost sight of my goals, I was always just boom. Nope. My girlfriend would step in and smack me and tell all the stories about when I was pouting about, like, this is never going to happen. It just keeps on. I just keep getting pushed down, keep getting pushed back. It's okay to do that. You're going to break down every so often. It's what you do after that. It's how you respond to that. The haters are going to be out there, and you're going to listen to them. You're going to read comments on social media. You're going to do it. It's just going to happen. And you're not going to be able to ignore it. And it's going to bring you down. But it's take 5-10 minutes, take an hour, and pout about it. Vent, whatever you want to call it. It's fine. Just keep moving. I've told everybody, it's like, it's not what happens, it's how you respond to what happens. So take your time, pout. It's fine. Now, get your sights reset, drink some caffeine. That's what typically works for me. And just start setting your goals again and keep working for them. It sounds so simple, but it's true. You just have to keep going. It's going to be terrible no matter what your goal is. If it's to be a professional athlete, if it's to, go into special operations in the military, if it's to be a head football coach, basketball coach, wrestling, whatever it is, to own a business, it's going to be hard and it's going to suck a lot, but you just have to keep going. Take some time to pout, take some time to vent, and then reset and go forward again.